Hey, it's Rook, and oh my god, what is Dead by Daylight right now? So we got Stranger Things back, including, all the characters, the map, everything. I've already played on it. It's already confusing, whatever. And the day after, we get Chucky of all killers, and you can really see how much care, how much detail they put into everything about this killer. The animations are incredible, honestly. And one of the things that I appreciate the most is that this is a third-person killer. Um, it's not very common, but some people just cannot play in first person without suffering from headaches, vertigo, and shit. And now they actually can because we have a third person killer. It becomes first person when you carry a survivor, but it's for a very brief time. It's so much better. And the more people can appreciate this game and play this game without having issues, the better it is for me. About the power to me seems very strong, but maybe it's compensated by the fact that this killer has zero map pressure and is 110, which is a very strange choice because except for Spirit, that is not a ranged killer, every killer in this game that is 110 is ranged, and Chucky is not really ranged. Like it has like a very long lunge attack, but this, I mean, the same as Oni, or I mean, Blight is 115, so I don't really understand why, but surely it feels very oppressive in Chase because when he enters his hidey hole mode, he can, of course, sneak up on survivors and everything, but mostly can just vault pallet and windows and be immediately lethal after. Which, I mean, behavior, I, I don't want to be the one telling you what to do, but why can this killer vault a pallet and be immediately lethal while Legion cannot even see pools of blood and scratch marks in his non-lethal state? I'm confused. Like, I think I need an explanation because I'm too stupid to understand. Anyway, the power seems very fun, but a little bit frustrating, in my opinion, in Chase. Because once this guy enters his mode, and if they're good enough not to be spun or some shit, you need to figure out the hitbox because, third person and everything. Plus, the power is not super easy to control. You can do a lot of flicks, you can do a lot of stuff if you're good. So once the person is really good and they can do all this shit and you cannot juke it, like they're gonna just slide under a pallet and hit you, and you're gonna be like, eh. I don't know, like, sure, there is a very high skill ceiling, like we can see that, but maybe it's still a little bit too much. Is it too overpowered? I don't know, like I genuinely do not know. I didn't spend the time to understand how you can hug tech and shit with Chucky, so I don't know. These are just my doubts. Like, is it too much? Is it not? What's your opinion about it? I'm really curious. The killer is like just 110, making chasing like normally, chasing as an M1 a little bit underwhelming, so you need to be good at this power to actually perform decently. It has a stealth component that is, in my opinion, very fair. When you enter ID home mode, you are gonna be undetectable and leave like fake footprints around the map that will also make noise. And you can sneak up on survivors. Also, if you have any doubts about the fact that the killer is very short, so it's gonna be hard to understand where he is at high loops and shit, you actually can, because basically when he moves, he leaves behind like a trail of footprints, and you can quite easily understand where he is positioned at basically any loops. You actually have kind of wall hacks, so if anything, it's harder to mind game with this killer. And look at the animation, like this is great. Oh my god. The Charlie ghost that actually appears in order to carry the survivor is really well made, and we're gonna see it on from the survivor perspective. But for now, I want to show you the Mori. Okay, look at this. Look at this. This really represents the essence of Chucky. Like it is really like this in the movie. Like it. I don't even know if YouTube is gonna kill me for this, but I will show it. I love this more amazing hacks you can play. Basically, after you've been blinded or stunned twice, the next time and every time after that that you get stunned or blind with like pallets add-on, the survivor that performs the action is also gonna get blinded for 1.5 seconds, which is hilarious. That's something I've always wanted. Like, I've always wanted to use survivor items against them. And here we also try to cleanse it and see if it relates. It does. Since this is not a strong hex, I don't even know why this is a hex, but if you cleanse it, after the second time you stun the killer again, another totem will relate, and the perk is gonna be active again. This is really fun. Like, look, I can show you the proof. Bam! This perk is amazing. I think it's one of the best perks in the game, and I love it. Battery is included. It's basically quick gambit, but for killer. Oh my god, look at the animation. It's amazing. When you're within 12 meters of a completed generator, you will have one stack play with your food, which okay, I mean it can work. It's very situational though. And friends till the end. Okay, I don't think this perk is problematic, but I do think it's very strong. Like, if you thought Ultimate Weapon was very strong, well, wait until I tell you about this. Whenever you hook a survivor that is not the obsession, your obsession will be exposed for 20 seconds, and their aura is gonna be revealed to you for 10 seconds, which is a lot. The only perk that reveals someone aura for 10 seconds that is currently in the game is Lightborn. When you hook the obsession, another random survivor becomes the obsession and screams. This is gonna force people to bring distortion and calm spirit, because one thing is to have ultimate weapon and the survivor is gonna be revealed in their position, and one thing is to have the killer know where you are and also be exposed. Depending on where you are, this can be incredibly powerful, and honestly, unless you play very optimally around this perk, it's gonna be a real pain in the ass. I am all for strong perks, but this may be a little bit too strong, and maybe this should have been the actual hex perk. But let's move to the maps. First of all, the Garden of Joy. Apparently this map has been changed in the PTB, but I cannot see this change. Okay, there is no palette here, like behind me, but there are like 4 very good interconnected pallets, which okay. Main is literally unchanged. They put a breakable wall in the like dining room near the god window, this breakable wall here that no one is ever gonna break, but you can still just use this window and chain it with the other pallet here. And I think there is even another window upstairs. Like, this main is still the strongest in the entire game, in my opinion. This window is still here. Maybe we can take a look upstairs. This is open now, and the window is still here. There is still the hole. I don't think there was a window here, like to my left, parallel to the one downstairs. But now there is. There is the opening, and now there is this window here, because this main didn't have enough good windows, apparently. Here we can see like 4 very good pallets, all connected to each other. Like, this is a longboard shell wall. These are like filler pallets. This one is, yeah, this one is kind of weaker, to be fair. But this one is good. The other ones are all good. This is a Z wall. And this connects to these 2 other pallets that connect to Shack. And there is a shoeless pallet in the middle of the road. Thank the gods. But this map is still a nightmare, and it's still one of the most survivor-sided maps in the game. What was the glitch? I hope it doesn't happen again. The Shack is kind of smooth, finally, because, like, yeah, that was cringe. But yeah, this is more yellow than Gideon, and I really don't think this map is balanced in the slightest. The car loop is still there, by the way, in case you were wondering, because that's probably the loop I hate the most in the entire game. And yep, there it is, connecting to a window. I don't know, like, Behavior, what did you rework, honestly? Like, what was the rework about? Like, it was about adding a breakable wall, like, good job, I guess. Let's move on to Trickster and Red Forest. We can just take a look at Mother's Dwelling, because Mother's Dwelling is the biggest offender here. It by far the biggest map in the game, 188 square tiles, like, humongous. You could not see from one side to the other, despite the fact that there was technically line of sight. And the clutter that they added in the last rework absolutely didn't help, making it a nightmare for a lot of killers, like projectile killers. For Blight, it was terrible. And absolutely hated it as Legion. Like, it was one of the worst maps for Legion, being so big. It also had a lot of loops that I don't think have lost their nature. I don't think they're even more sparse. They're proportionate to the map now. Like, it's not more cluttered with loops, and it's also less cluttered with like bushes and branches and shit. But I think it's balanced now. Like, it's not one of those maps that's gonna make me piss myself in happiness when I spawn in as Legion, but I'm also not gonna cry as I would before. It's a good map. I will say it's like roughly maybe the size of Lodge. I think it's around 155 square tiles now, both maps. Temple looks really small. Like, it really looks like it is mostly filled with the actual temple. And the loops are way easier to identify now. Like, even without windows of opportunity, like, you can really see where you're going, which was a problem before. Like, there has been like this cluster of very cluttered maps at some point that gave us like this rework and Dwarka Deepwood. And yeah, the loops are fine. Like, I'm very happy about that, because I really hate when they remake a map and they're like, no, it's just gonna be like, we're gonna make it smaller, we're gonna make it bigger, we're gonna add like 2 pallets and then add a tile that does nothing. The tiles are the same as before, they're just a little bit easier to recognize, and I think it's gonna also be less frustrating for like hunters and blind. Moving on, for Trickster, we don't have gameplay footage of Trickster, but I played as Trickster and against Trickster with my friends, and oh boy, the problem with Trickster was that it was really frustrating to deal with in chase as survivor, but as killer, you also had negative map pressure. So the good move would have been to make it slightly less oppressive in chase and have it have something that helps you control the map. But what they did is it's just the same as before for map pressure, but is now incredibly more oppressive in chase, because it is 115 base kit. If you don't miss knives, you gain, I think, a 1% haste for every knife you hit, up to 7%, which is a lot. And you also have main event, like after like 5 knives, 6 knives, or some shit. You need more knives to actually deal a health state, sure. But the problem with main event was that you couldn't use it whenever you want. Like, in my opinion, I'm not a avid Trickster player, so probably, some P100 Trickster can tell their own story. But my problem when I played Trickster was that I would get main event, which was like my strongest part of the power, but I couldn't use it when I wanted because it was timed. Like, imagine being Legion, and if you don't use Feral Frenzy within like 20 seconds, now you cannot use it again unless you hit like 4 more survivors with an M1. Like, what? That's crazy. And now you have main event every 6 knives, I think. It lasts 5 seconds, and on any tile while Trickster is main event, which is always, you're gonna have it every chase. You cannot leave the tile. Like, all you have to hope is that the tile is like rounded enough that they cannot shoot on it. Plus, you will basically never need to reload, because main event does not use your knives. It's just a pool of knives that never ends. So you hit a survivor like, I don't know, 7 times. Now you have main event, you down them, you don't have to reload because you still have a fuckload of knives. I don't know what this rework is, but I haven't seen many great reviews of it. What is my solution for it? I don't know. I don't want to give my opinion because I don't enjoy playing as Trickster or against Trickster. I would like some Trickster main, or maybe someone that really loves playing against Trickster, to chime in with their opinion, because I want to enjoy this killer too, on both sides. And I'm pretty sure there is a way to make that happen, but it's not it. This is not it. Now, talking about MFT. So this perk is only gonna affect tunnelers, like hardcore tunnelers, Legion, and Deathslinger. I'm not an avid Deathslinger player, so I'm gonna let his mains talk about that. But I wanna talk about the tunneling issue, like the anti-tunneling issue, and Legion, most importantly. So about anti-tunneling, this is not the strongest anti-tunneling perk in the game. Now, if you bring the full package, so DS, Off the Record, Dead Hard, and MFT, you're sure you're gonna be an anti-tunnel machine. But people usually like variety. Like, being chased is nice, but what if the killer doesn't tunnel you at all? Like, you have 4 perks that do absolutely nothing. So, not my cup of tea, let's be honest. Not my cup of MFT. Oh my god, this is the worst joke I've ever made in my life. But what about Legion? Well, the point is, like, behavior specifically said in their PTB notes, in order to avoid, eating MFT, do not cause deep wound in survivors. And I would really like to know how I can do that as Legion. I would really like to avoid causing deep wound on survivors, but apparently that is my entire power. And since it also works when exhausted, it would be really, really, really sad and cringe if this perk only affected Legion, because like it's not like we can do something else. We have to eat survivor with our M2 and cause them deep wound. And when we choose a chase as Legion, as an M1 killer with absolutely no antelope of any sort, we need to choose wisely. So if we could also leave the last survivor we hit and go to someone else that's already mended. But guess what? If they have already mended, maybe I would hit them by chaining hits. So I would have to leave the survivor I am chasing and completely go on the other side of the map. For what reason? The only saving grace is that probably no one is gonna bring this shit. But I don't think there should be perks that specifically screw over one killer, no matter how rare they are. Like, look at Doctor and Ultimate Weapon. When Ultimate Weapon did not exist, no one brought Calm Spirit. But now Ultimate Weapon is meta, and well, guess what? Doctor is screwed over in basically half of his base kit. So I really hope this gets changed. This at least works with exhaustion, so you can exhaust the survivor and this doesn't work anymore. I don't know. I don't like it. I don't think it's gonna be really impactful, but still it's a slippery slope that I really don't enjoy.